Let's see. Get ready to share, and we will get called to order. Sometimes I want to have music for this part because I really don't like silence. All right. Welcome to our April meeting of the 34th District Democrats. I'm now calling the meeting to order. For those of you just joining us, I'd like to call out that we will occasionally hold a special program prior to our meetings. I know that's generally been reserved for potluck and chat in the old days of being in the hall, but we're going to try some new ways to get some programming out there for you. So check that out. I do send emails every week. If you're not getting those emails, please send me an email and I'll make sure that we get you in there. The weekly emails will also have lots of other information about our meetings, documents you might want to read and that sort of thing. So please be sure to check those out. This past month has been no stranger to shocking news. We've seen breathtaking assertions of partisan power in elections in Georgia. That seems like 6 months ago. It was really literally within the past month. I assume that you guys have all been watching some of the Chauvin trial and everything that's been happening around that in Minnesota. And of course, the horror of yet another police shooting occurred just recently. If that wasn't enough, we've seen the heartbreak of new mass shootings in Atlanta and Boulder. There have been over 130 mass shootings in 2021 so far. How many is too many? I ask myself that, and I'm sure everyone else does as well. We were all frightened also recently with the breaking news at the Capitol, fearing the worst. At least I was, but then learning that yet another lost soul had sought death by police. These are the times we live in. And I just encourage everyone to use those emotions that come from all of this. And, as you digest that daily news feed of horror some days, let that inspire you to take action. Let it inspire you to get involved, to do more than you do today, kick it up a notch, and help us stand up for our democratic values. We really need every hand on deck right now. All right, let's get started with our land acknowledgement. First, Vice Chair Rachel Glass, take it away.
Thank you, Carla. On behalf of the 34th LD Democrats, I acknowledge the land on which we stand today as the traditional home of the Coast Salish and Duwamish people, the traditional home of all tribes and bands within the Suquamish, Tulalip, Snoqualmie, and Muckleshoot nations. Without them, we would not have access to this gathering and to this dialogue. I ask that we take this opportunity to thank the original caretakers of this land who are still here.
Thank you, Rachel. We have a really, really tight and huge agenda tonight. So I'd like to start out by recognizing our VIPs while asking that remarks be kept succinct. First up, I think I saw King County Executive Dow Constantine. Hopefully you'll give us an update on COVID. Dow?
Well, thank you so much, Carla. I hope you can hear me here. We're really concerned, of course, by the news of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine being pulled, at least temporarily, from distribution. It is not a
Uh-oh. Can anyone else unmute and let me know if you're hearing Dow?
No.
No, he kind of froze up.
No.
Okay, let's give it a second.
No.
Hey, Carla?
Yes.
I think I will go to a different computer and log in, and that will help. Why don't you skip to someone else, and then I'll come back with a more stable connection.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, I'm scrolling through the list to see who else has joined us. Some special surprise guests. Burien Mayor Jimmy Mata, would you like to say a few words?
Sure. Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me? It looks like the mic is working.
Yes, you're good.
Well, we're off to a good start in Burien. We have a couple of people have announced that they're running. I have not officially announced yet, but I am registered to rerun. So I will let you know here tonight on the 34th, I'm rerunning for council position number 3 in the city of Burien. And I think later on, Carla, is that when you wanted me to speak about some of the obstacles we'll be having in the race?
Oh, Jimmy, that is our May meeting. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right, I wanted to make sure that hey, at least I'm ahead of the game here. All right, everybody. Well, but guess what? We're gonna have an exciting election. I can't wait to tell you all about it. Right now, it's the immunization's a big deal right now in our community. Specifically with the Latino community, with a lot of this Johnson & Johnson, some that wanted Johnson & Johnson, some that didn't. And so right now it's going to be a big job in making sure that we're communicating to the Spanish-speaking community. So it was already difficult to have them immunize themselves. So we're coming up. I know I just had a conversation with Harborview UW. I'm looking forward to talking to King County Health Department and Latino Civic Alliance, Washington, and several other organizations, so we could, really have a focus on a Spanish-speaking community in Burien. We're 54,000 residents, 42% people of color, 25% Latino. But other than that, we're ready to get going and see people like port commissioners who are running. Hamid is on, I see her on Zoom here, and so I'm supporting her. I'm happy to see her running and really getting out there and energized. But other than that, I have not much more to say than hugs and kiss for everybody. I love seeing you on this Zoom call. I'm glad everybody's safe, and so far right now we're just continuing the battle against this coronavirus, and we're gonna win this one. So as long as we stay together and we keep pushing. So thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you everybody else for listening to me tonight.
Madam Chair,
Carla, you're on mute.
you're muted.
Carla, you're on mute.
She can't figure out why she's on mute. With everyone's permission, since she called on me before, maybe I'll just jump in while she figures out how to get herself off mute. How does that sound, Carla? I'm King County, thank you, King County Executive Dow Constantine. I am honored to be here tonight as former chair of the 34th. I have just 3 distinct things I want to talk about. As I started out earlier, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine news. Obviously, it's bad news nationally. It's bad news locally too, but we have not received that much and are not anticipating that much of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine here. We had to rearrange some of the schedules in Auburn at our Auburn Public Health Clinic. But in general, we're pushing forward as we were to get the whole population vaccinated. We have achieved about 500,000 people who are fully vaccinated now in King County. There are 1.8 million adults. We still have around 900,000 people who have not received their first vaccine. So it is a big challenge as we're only receiving about maybe 40, 50,000 allocated to public health of the first vaccines, and then a few tens of thousands through the direct allocation to pharmacies. It's going to take a while, and we just have to be patient. And I will caution everyone, as I always do, to continue to be vigilant, wear your mask, avoid crowded situations, the people with whom you don't live, and stay home if you're sick. King County Sheriff's Office, as you well know, we've had some challenges, both with the discipline that's been handed out by the sheriff to officers, which people have disagreed with, both some of the officers' guilds have disagreed with, and members of the public, as well as statements the sheriff's made that have been I think really insensitive, ill-timed, and not reflective of our values as a community. Several of the council members have demanded the sheriff resign now. As you know, the public voted to move the sheriff to the appointment by the executive office at the end of the year. I had a direct conversation with the sheriff, and I encouraged her, asked her to consider retiring, as she's now eligible to do, so that we might be able to clear the decks, clear the air, focus on the job at hand, which is to work with our communities on the kind of qualities we want in a new sheriff for me to appoint, and on the restructuring of the sheriff's office, the sort of describing the duties and structure of that office and what policing is going to look like in King County in the future, work that we are doing in full and funded co-creation with communities. And she has chosen to this point not to step aside, but we are going to continue and accelerate our work nonetheless to make that transition. Finally, I want to mention some news from last week. As some of you saw, we have been working on creating a soundstage for the filming of both movies and episodic productions, television series, at Harbor Island. This is a building that the county's owned and has been vacant for the better part of 2 decades. We lost most of our movie business to other locations, but this is an opportunity for us to really begin to regain some of that extremely important business. And in our film initiative, which I announced before COVID, we set out that those making films would be able to use any county property, that we would reduce the permit fees, and that we were going to incent the hiring of local talent, particularly people of color and from disadvantaged communities, and incent green film production. And that is the way in which we're going to rebuild our film industry here sustainably and equitably. I'm really excited about it. It is a tiny investment for the enormous return that can come to us. I wanted to thank 34th District member Lacey Levin in particular for being such a remarkable advocate and artist, an advocate for our film industry and helping us get to this point. Thank you, Madam Chair. I hope you got your sound working. And I would be later happy to answer any questions you might have.
All right, do I have my sound working now?
Yes.
Great. Don't know how that happened. My apologies. All right. I also want to recognize King County Council Member Dave Upthegrove. Do you have a few words to say for us?
Whenever you ask a politician if they have a few words to say, you know what the answer is going to be. Would you prefer it to be a council rather than political? Is that?
You can do with it what you will.
Sure.
Totally fine.
I'll be very brief. For folks, I've met most of the people here. My name's Dave Upthegrove, and for the last 7 years, I've had the opportunity of representing the south tip of the 34th, some of the precincts in Burien on the King County Council, and it's where I grew up in the 34th District in Burien, and I'm running for re-election to the King County Council this year, and would love to ask for your support. I believe I've been an effective progressive champion, and I'm running to build on the progress that we've made together as a community. You know, who I am as an elected official really was shaped by my experience coming of age politically as a gay man at a time when I could face legal discrimination, where it was legal to do so. And that really developed in me a commitment to justice, whether it's LGBT equality, racial equality, gender equality, tackling income inequality. I'm the son of a father with disabilities. I'm the brother of someone who's overcome addiction issues and criminal justice involvement. And these life experiences I bring to this job. My vision moving forward is pretty simple: health, jobs, and justice. Health means continuing to protect the health and safety of seniors as we come out of this pandemic. And it means continuing to work with the community to address the racial and income inequalities that we see. Jobs means making sure that we're implementing the new Green Jobs program for Black, Indigenous, and people of color youth that we've passed. And I don't know about you, but childcare is a jobs issue. We need to pass the Best Starts for Kids renewal to provide subsidies to low-income families for childcare and wage support for childcare workers. And finally, for me, justice means rooting out institutional racism throughout our criminal justice system. I was proud to kick off my campaign with early endorsements from 50 leaders from communities of color in South King County. And I'm proud to build a big grassroots coalition. I'm hoping the 34th will be a part of it. I'll paste my campaign website in the chat, as well as a quick plug. I'm having, I think, a fun event coming up. My cat Dobby and I are co-hosting an event with the Humane Voters of Washington. That's the political branch of the Humane Society, where we are asking you to bring your furry friend on the Zoom call as well and have a chance to introduce our furry friend. So I invite you and your pets to join me at that upcoming event in a couple of weeks, and I'll put a link in the chat, as well as my personal contact info if anyone ever has any questions, either about county business or the political side. So thanks for giving me a minute.
No problem. You get the prize for the most creative campaign event via Zoom. I love that.
I
Very
hope it
good.
turns out.
Yes, best wishes. All right, Chris Porter gave me a pass to let him from him speaking tonight, just because we have a super packed agenda. I will recognize you, Chris, if you want to speak, but I'd love to get on into our agenda if you're good with that. And he is on mute. I'm going to take that as a pass. All right, it's time for Speak Up Survey question. Like last month, I have another question that will help us plan for return to in-person meetings. We're considering new venues to hold our meetings. We will continue to have some, but not all of our meetings at the Hall at Fauntleroy. We want to hold our meetings across the district in order to make attendance more convenient for neighbors in all of our areas of the district. So what we would like to know is if you have ideas on new venues we should consider. So in the chat, you should have a link for a Google form. If you have any ideas that you'd like us to check out, please fill out that survey, and we will be looking into these over the next weeks and months. Of course, there's also an open field. If you have any feedback that you'd like to share, please go ahead and do that as well. Thank you for speaking out. All right, again, super packed program. I'm going to skip our Zoom tips tonight. Just please remember, if you for some reason come off of mute, please go back on mute, and that will include me as well, just so that we can keep our presentation nice and tidy. On to the approval of the agenda. All right, you see on the screen. Thank you, Anne. All right, Anne is making the motion. Is there a second to approve our agenda? Ann Martin was the motion, and who was the second?
Sarah Koch.
Thank you, Sarah. All right, any discussion, any updates? Any discussion? All right, all those in favor, please unmute, say aye.
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 Awesome. Very good. All those opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, the agenda is adopted. Moving along to our minutes. This month, first time, I have found a way to get our minutes and our budget report out to you so that you can look at that ahead of time and you don't have to look at this and think there's no way I can see it, it's too small. So do look again in those weekly emails, so you'll get those documents if you care to look at them ahead of time. The screen shows the meeting minutes from our March 10th meeting. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Last page. Any corrections? All right, hearing none. Would someone go and unmute yourself and make a motion on our minutes?
I have.
So moved.
Thank you, Ann Martin.
So
A second?
Second. I second.
I need a name. Was that
Julie.
Bonnie? Okay,
Julie.
Julie Whitaker is our second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. Any opposed, please say nay.
Aye.
Making it the warmest day for Seattle this year. Overnight lows
Hey.
40s for Olympian,
Will somebody
40s
just
for
join me,
Seattle,
please?
Everett, and Bellingham tomorrow afternoon.
All right. All those opposed? I don't think I heard anybody. Minutes are approved and will be filed for audit. Moving on to the budget report. This is the clip we need to go through. All right, in the chat, just in case you want to see it, there is the full budget report. But at this point, I'd like to introduce Treasurer Julie Whitaker, who will provide our monthly treasurer's report. Again, the budget report was emailed to you on Sunday for a closer look. Julie, could you share the highlights here? Julie?
All right, am I undone now?
You're on.
Okay. Our March 1st beginning balance was $25,656.83. Our income from membership and change makes sense was $1,521. Our expenses were credit card fees of $191.02, bank fees of $23, the deputy treasurer Andy of $175, Rev and Zoom of $240.09. That made our month end balance $5,408.72. So for the month, we are up $891.89.
All good news. And our new fiscal year begins on May 1st, coming up. Julie, thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
All right. Trey Likens, membership chair Trey Likens is going to provide a quick membership report. And at that same time, in the chat, if you have not renewed your membership, or if you'd like to join for the first time, we'd love to have you. Please click that link and you can do it while you are listening to the membership report. Trey?
Thanks, Carla. So good evening. My name is Trey Likens. I am your membership and hospitality chair. As of this afternoon, our membership totals 207, including 110 PCOs. Becoming a member of the 34th Dems is easy and important, and I want to take just a brief moment to tell you why. We are a community of neighbors working to advance democratic ideals and elect democratic leaders. At least a few of our elected officials are almost always in attendance to report back to us on the work they do on our behalf, like you just saw. And we almost always vote on new resolutions or candidate endorsements to indicate the type of leadership we want to see. And while our meetings are open to the public, voting on these resolutions and endorsements is only open to our members. Members will be voting on a resolution later this evening and during our candidate endorsement meeting in June. In order to be eligible to vote for endorsements in June, you will need to sign up for a new membership prior to the end of our May 12th meeting, or renew your previous membership by 9 p.m. the night before our June 9th endorsements meeting. I know it's a little confusing, so the simplest way to remember those dates is this. Click the link in the chat and join or renew your membership tonight. Then you don't have to worry about marking anything in your calendar. The membership form that you find there from the link has a suggested donation listed. If you can pay it, that is great. Membership dues help fund the tools we use to reach voters during election season and the ones we use to conduct our regular business, such as the Zoom meeting we're in right now. However, if you are unable to pay, we still want you to join and contribute your voice. Money will never be a barrier to entry. So if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for me, feel free to contact me at membership@34dems.org. That email, as well as the link to join the 34th, will be in the chat. Thank you to members, present and future. Back to you, Carla.
All right, thanks, Trey. All right, last month, Nick Bonazza held a really awesome Burien PCO kickoff, which was in partnership with the 33rd LD, who has about a third of the Burien precincts where we have about 2/3. One of our big focuses this year will be to win all 4 Burien council seats. Super important to keep those seats in the blue column. We'll have a current Burien mayor who spoke just a moment ago, and Councilwoman Sophia Aragon at our next meeting in May. Jimmy came early. So special guests, they'll be coming in and speaking more with a little bit longer program in our May meeting, just to get you pumped up to help Burien. Again, this month, I'd like to ask Nick to take the floor and introduce you to a few new PCOs. Nick?
Yes, great, thank you. I've got the honor today to presenting two new PCOs for both of them actually for Seattle. Preston Anderson for Seattle 343839, and Martin Strelecki, Seattle 341467. And both Preston and Martin, if your video's not on, please put your video on. Thank you.
Held on.
All right, cool. All right.
I'm on too, Nick. This is Marty.
Great, Marty. Thank you. So here you go. I'm going to give you your oath, and then I will ask the PCOs that here at the meeting to approve your appointment. So here I go. Are you willing to serve as a Democratic Precinct Committee officer or acting Precinct Committee coordinator until December 1st, 2022? And do you recognize that is your responsibility to know the boundaries of your precinct and be familiar with its residents and registered voters? And do you understand that your duties also include providing voters with campaign material for endorsed candidates prior to each primary and general election, get out the vote activities, new voter registrations? And before the motion to appoint, please answer this question. Are you a Democrat?
I am.
Great, thank you. Carla, may I have a motion to appoint these two great PCOs to join us as new PCOs for the 34th?
Very good. Thank you, Nick. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
And Martin?
Yes.
Yeah.
Maker of all motions. And
Second, Rachel.
Can you put some
Fortunately, it's going to be exciting, easy, and way less awkward. Because when you have Xfinity Internet and mobile, you can save up to $300 a year on wireless. Good products, one great value. Saving made easy. Can you
Can everyone go on mute if you're not on the floor, speaking on the floor? Thank you. All right, that was exciting.
Great.
I think we have a motion from Ann Martin, and then I got a second, but I have no idea who was talking.
Rachel Glass.
Hi. All right, Rachel Glass, thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Great, thank you.
Anyone opposed, please say nay. All right. Thank you, new PCOs. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nick will put you to work. All right. So now for a couple announcements. We will be presenting an end of session legislative town hall on Sunday, May 2nd from 1 to 2:30, of course, on Zoom. We're really excited to have Representative Jayapal, Representative Cody, Representative Fitzgibbon, and Senator Wynn, who all have consented to attend and fill you all in on the results of the session. The planned end for session is next Friday. As far as I know, that should stick. The link for the meeting is available on our website and of course, always on Facebook as well. And we are also accepting pre-submitted questions. If you want to ask a question, it would be very much preferred if you fill out the questionnaire, which is going to be in the chat here in a moment. And those questions will probably take somewhat of priority, but we will also take some spontaneous questions from the crowd as well. So hopefully you can all put that on your calendar and we'll see you there. It is with sadness that I announced that our former treasurer and current bylaws and rules chair, Ben Riley, has given his resignation. Ben played a vital role on the last board under Chair Gina Top. He became a new father, and I think between his existing children that are 2, and now he has another one, and work, the 34th just couldn't get high enough on the priority list. We'll all miss Ben, his engagement in the organization, and we really hope that he finds a way to come back and at least stay involved in the district. We'll start working on bylaws update later in the year, so it would be really awesome if I heard from someone who might be interested in helping us out with this important task. I want to remind everyone that I do send that email out every week, full copies of resolutions, our endorsement process, all those things get linked in our weekly email. So really ask that everybody look out for those emails. We are actually also at times going to have programs where I will be able to put the Zoom link for those programs right there in the email. So just please take a look for that. And again, if you can't get the email for some reason, feel free to reach out. We'll try to help you out. Also, when we do have something like a resolution or the endorsement process, if you have questions, reach out ahead of time. There's always, the right person to reach out right in that email. It really helps make the meetings go smoothly and stay on time if we get those questions kind of ironed out in the beginning and offline. And I want to give a shout out to Tamsin Spangler for actually doing just that. She reached out, she emailed me, I pulled in the maker of the resolution, and we got it answered. So thank you, Tamsin, for doing that. And of course, amendments can always be made. Lastly, I just want to ask for your patience as we will again be shifting to a new process of registration and also voting. Next month's meeting, we will be using a new system. We will not be using the same Google Google form. And so just hold on tight. We'll get through this, but we think that this is the process that's going to work the best for us. We also will be voting in a different way, especially when it comes to our endorsements meeting. We wanted to have a really easy, sort of foolproof way to get our votes in. I know that we had some struggles the last time we had to do a ballot vote. So we met, we came up with some new ideas, and we're actually going to try those out next month. So the new voting tool, we're going to do a practice run in May. So if you are concerned at all about making sure you can vote, please try to attend our May meeting, and you can do a practice run so that you're ready to go in June for the endorsements meeting. And I'm just going to cross everything that we are smooth sailing for that endorsement meeting, because it's going to be a whopper. Kind of the downside of Zoom. To me, there's very little downside. The voting part, the registration part is that downside. So thank you for your patience as we try to improve our system. And then finally, our board meeting is on next Wednesday, the 21st. And as always, it's an open meeting. So if you want to attend, just let me know. And my email is in the chat. All right. Hopefully we are not too far behind. We are going to meet some candidates again this month, continuing as long as we need to. I'm planning to give a portion of our agenda to our candidates. Tonight we have 4 candidates on top of a very packed agenda, so please keep your remarks to 2 to 3 minutes maximum. First up will be mayoral candidate Andrew Grant Houston. Andrew, would you like to unmute yourself?
Yes, just give me 1 second. All right. So first off, I would like to thank Executive Constantine for his work to create more creative space for our film business here, and especially this week, which is SIFF. We are hosting the Seattle International Film Festival, and I know myself as a big film aficionado that it is something near and dear to my heart. I would like to say hello to everyone in the 34th, Vashon Island, Burien, White Center, and of course, the accidental island of West Seattle. My name is Andrew Grant Houston. My pronouns are he, him. I am an architect and a proud member of the 43rd LD. When I think of the 34th, I think of playing soccer at the Delridge Fields at Chief Sealth High School. celebrating birthdays at the Southgate Roller Rink, 4th of July at Alki, and of course, fried chicken at Maono. I also think about the West Seattle Bridge. And in this decade of the Green New Deal and the deep investments that we must make in infrastructure, I bring years of project management experience on multi-million-dollar projects where I have delivered on time and under budget. But I'm not just an architect and a small business owner. I am also an organizer and a grassroots movement builder. And so I also want to say thank you to the 34th for supporting Representative Fitzgibbon, who has been a great partner to my organization FutureWise, of which I'm a board member, in our initiatives to address the state's housing and climate crises through HB 1099 and HB 1220. I recognize that cooperation at all levels of government is critical to our success as a region, and I'm honored to say that that message has resonated both locally and nationally. So far today, I have now crossed 10,000 vouchers received from Seattleites, as well as receiving an official endorsement from Run for Something. And so if you are looking for a mayor with a new style of leadership who will act after years of inaction, then I am your candidate. And so I hope to have your support as we come together to solve our region's biggest issues. Because when we empower community to be successful, it will make the hard work that we must do that much easier. And so it's time to get to work.
All right, great. Thank you so much. Thanks for the visit to the island of West Seattle.
Thank you for having me.
Next up, we'll hear from City Attorney Pete Holmes about his campaign for re-election.
Thank you, Carla, and thank you, 34th. It's great to be here. In fact, there's two reasons I'm incredibly excited today. The first is to finally be here with you virtually, although I do look forward to when we can all be together again in person. The second reason is I got my second Pfizer shot just today, about 2 hours ago. So I'm really excited, and I'm really ready for another term. I got to tell you, I don't think that the stakes have ever been higher. You know, even as we're really poised to come back roaring, I believe, from the pandemic, and I think that we truly will build back better, as our new president and vice president have advocated, there are those, there's no doubt, that would rather we roll back the gains that we've made. There are those who want to double down on the war on drugs. My office just now successfully led a defense of Seattle's $4 an hour hazard pay for our vulnerable grocery workers, even while the big grocery chains are making record profits. We're fighting back the Chamber's attack. Just this past week, we have filed a motion to dismiss the Chamber's attack on Seattle's Jumpstart tax, even though it would provide funding for struggling small businesses and homelessness. And we have also been successful in protecting hotel workers' protection that were enacted by the Seattle City Council. So again, just to enclose, the stakes have never been higher. Just keep in mind that if I am reelected, I will be serving starting in January with my 6th mayor. Together, this city will be searching for its 7th police chief since I have been city attorney, and will be negotiating a new contract with the Seattle Police Officers Guild. This is a pivotal time. It's so important we preserve our gains and push Seattle forward. I hope that you'll help me. I've already put my campaign website in the chat room, and I would appreciate really if you'd help me qualify for democracy vouchers. Got to say, it's something that my office defended that lawsuit all the way up through the US Supreme Court successfully. It's a model for the country. That's the kind of leadership I want to bring and continue to push the city forward as we come out of this pandemic. So great to see you all. Thank you, Carla. I appreciate all your time tonight.
All right, thank you. Next, we have a pair of Port of Seattle candidates. We'll start with ladies first. So please welcome Hamdi Mohammed, who is seeking to be the first woman of color elected to the Port Commission. Hamdi?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, everyone. My name is Hamdi Mohammed. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm excited to share my candidacy for the Port of Seattle Commission Position 3. I'm excited to share that our campaign has been endorsed by SEIU Local 6, Fuse Washington, and over 30 elected officials, including Congresswoman Jayapal, Congressman Adam Smith, Attorney General Bob Ferguson, our County Executive Doc Constantine, and so many of our community leaders. Folks are ready for a regional leader that will make the Port of Seattle's numerous operations more accessible and transparent, a leader that will be a strong voice for working families and businesses impacted the most by COVID-19. I'm proud to serve on the Maritime High School's advisory board and will be a strong advocate for expanding educational opportunities for our youth to ensure that they are prepared to enter the workforce after this pandemic. Look, I've dedicated my life to public service at the local level and at the federal level. I came to the US when I was 3 years old with my family, and one of our first ports of entries into the United States was at SeaTac Airport. I watched my mother juggle her job at SeaTac Airport, and I was 15 years old attending Chief South High School when I started working at our local businesses and nonprofit organizations to help my family make ends meet. Today, I have over 15 years of experience working in King County. Currently, I advise on the county's $12 billion budget. I've led an initiative that invested $1.5 million into our small businesses impacted by displacement. I managed the COVID-19 response fund, which was over $3 million, and that went directly to community-based organizations that were serving frontline workers. As Congresswoman Jayapal's Deputy District Director, I helped our businesses and constituents navigate the impacts of public policies and saved your district millions of dollars. As Port Commissioner, I will be a champion for working families. I know how to manage large budgets in a way that works for all of us and ensures that it is equitably distributed among our community and industries. I will bring my lived experience and work experience to the Port of Seattle in such a critical time for equitable economic recovery in our region. I hope to earn you guys' endorsement. If you'd like to learn more about my vision for the Port of Seattle, please visit our website at humveeforport.com. Again, thank you so much for the opportunity to share with you tonight.
Awesome, thank you. And finally, I'd like to introduce Ryan Calkins, who's seeking re-election to Port of Seattle Commissioner Position 1.
Thank you, Chair. It's never fun to follow up somebody like Hamdi who just can rattle off a barn burner like that. But, you know, the 34th for me is a pretty special LD because when I was a challenger 4 years ago, running for the first time for public office, I came to you guys in early May, shortly after I'd announced my campaign, and I asked for your endorsement. And you guys took a chance on me. And so you were the first LD, and it felt to me like, okay, maybe there's a chance here. And so I feel deeply grateful, and I'm coming back to you guys today to ask for your endorsement for my re-election campaign. For the last 4 years, I've been a commissioner at the Port of Seattle, elected by the folks in King County to shape one of our region's most important public assets. During that time, I've worked hard to preserve jobs and to create new ones. And just as important, I've opened up new opportunities for everyone to share in the prosperity that a growing economy brings, such as the new Maritime High School. I've also worked hard to make the Port of Seattle an environmental leader, demonstrating that economic growth and sustainability are critical components of our future. Done right, responding to climate change can actually mean new jobs and industries for our region. We need to overhaul the way we fuel our ships and planes and trucks before it's too late. That's why we cut our carbon emissions in half, over 10 years ahead of schedule, and why we're pursuing the most ambitious environmental agenda of any port in the nation. At the same time, I know that we rely on the port to perform well. We all deserve a clean and stress-free and enjoyable experience when we fly through SeaTac, and we depend upon the seaport for the food on our table and the packages on our doorsteps. You know, when they say that when you love your job, you'll never work a day in your life, that for me has felt like the last 4 years. I love this job. And I sincerely hope that you all will help me in my bid for re-election to the Port of Seattle. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. Following that, candidate for Port Commissioner Position 4, Toshiko Hasegawa, will join us in May, along with Colleen Echohawk, Lorena Gonzalez, Jessen Farrell, and Bruce Harrell. Good grief, sorry about that. All candidates for mayor. We got a big candidate spotlight next month. But thank you, all four of you. Good luck on your campaign.
Could I just ask a question, Carla?
Yes.
I have 3 times registered for tonight's meeting and never got a Zoom. And I was hoping to have an opportunity to introduce myself as a candidate for re-election to the port. I emailed you. I have registered, and I don't know what else I need to do to get on the list of your VIPs here. So I would just like an opportunity to speak, but maybe I can wait until the next meeting if you have a busy schedule.
Peter, is that you?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay.
I wrote you last week and I registered 3 times. I never got a Zoom response or a meeting response. So I finally found it on Facebook, a backdoor way to get into the meeting.
Sure. Yeah, I apologize. As I mentioned earlier, we do have some issues with our emails.
Okay, I just thought I'd share that with you, my challenges, but I would love to have a couple of minutes, but I can wait if you'd prefer.
Yeah, well, Peter, why don't you go ahead?
Oh, well, thank you. Even better. Well, thanks very much. And I'm not new to the 34th or to Seattle. I served on the city council for 10 years, as you know. In my professional, civic, and political life, public service and serving the greater good has always been central to everything I've done since childhood. And the port for me has an extremely important mission that's, I think, becoming better understood thanks to the leadership of my colleagues like Ryan Calkins here. And I couldn't agree more with his statement as well as Hamdi's statement about the value and purpose of the port as a major economic driver for living wage jobs, job creation, and equitable economic recovery during this extremely challenging time. I was president last year throughout the crisis. We had no furloughs, no layoffs, and we managed to get through an extremely challenging budget shortfall while maintaining operations continuously. I'm proud of that. I do think that we are the port of the future, that we need to change. I think we do need to extend our reach deeper into the communities, which is why I created the first $10 million community equity fund in South King County in my first year after joining the commission. And that work is continuing, and it's putting to work both opportunity for youth, for communities of color, and important environmental programs like greening some of the cities that have a dearth of urban forest canopy, Burien, Des Moines, SeaTac among them. At the seaport, we're working hard to electrify the waterfront, and we will. And we will have a waterfront like no other in North America that is completely electrified by 2030 with the leadership that we're providing. I feel that I'm one of the most progressive commissioners that the port has ever seen, and we're moving to become the most progressive port in North America, to be the greenest port, the most accessible port, and the most equitable. Lots of challenges ahead, not the time for a big change in leadership, at least as it goes in my position, because I think that my contributions are enormous. My experience, strong, steady, and principled leadership is exactly what the port needs today and for the future. So I thank you for this opportunity. And I will continue to work hard and deliver on the commitments that I've made.
Okay, thank you, Peter. All right. Well,
Appreciate the opportunity. Next time I'll try to get my things in order here a little more clearly. So.
Okay. Cool. And actually, I'm going to make a point here that if you, I did not see you as joined at the very beginning of our meeting, and you were on my very first slide. So you were there where you were in the meeting. So
I never got the Zoom link was the problem. I'm sorry, but anyway, I don't want you to take up your time with those problems and difficulties. Just technicalities, the world we live in.
All right.
Thank you, Carla.
No problem.
Okay, see you later, folks. I got to go to another LD.
Hamdi,
West Seattle Bridge, reopen it fast.
what position is Hamdi running for?
Position 3.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, reminder that our candidate forum lineup has been announced. We'll bring you 4 opportunities to see candidates up close and personal. Position 8 and 9 City Council, Seattle City Council will be held on Saturday, May 22nd, 11 to 1. Later that day, King County Executive Forum will be held from 3 to 4. We'll hold a forum for all 4 Burien City Council positions on Tuesday night, May 25th from 7 to 9. Let me get my slide up. Sorry about that. Lastly, we will hold a forum for the mayor's race on Saturday, June 5th from 11 to 1, although we may need like 11 to 5 with the number of candidates we have. All events will be held on Zoom, of course, and will not require any sort of registration. And finally, our endorsements meeting will be held on Wednesday, June 9th at 7 p.m. All right, I am going to, let's see, we've lost a little bit of time here, but everybody please hang out. We've got so much great stuff coming. Really excited for the next part of the program. After the election, I had requested that Chair Podlodowski visit us for a party unity program. Little did I know that she would do that and then some. I'd like to share the microphone now with First Vice Chair Rachel Glass, who will introduce our special presentation this evening. Rachel.
Thank you, Carla. I would like to have you help me welcome our special guest who, sorry, let me just ask, is Tina speaking first or is her guest speaking first?
Rachel, I'm going first and then Ken's going.
Great, thanks Tina, thank you for that. I'd like to just introduce you all, for those of you who may not know Tina Podlodowski. Tina is the daughter of 2 naturalized US citizens who fled post-World War II Europe as refugees. As a first-generation American Union kid and lifelong Democrat, Tina has spent her life fighting for equity and equality and gained prominence as a visible leader in both the Democratic Party nationally and the LGBTQ community nationally and internationally. After a career as an executive at Microsoft, Tina won an at-large seat on the Seattle City Council with 65% of the popular vote. On council, she championed new civil rights legislation, including the inclusion of gender identity into all city ordinances, created the first civilian oversight body of the Seattle Police Department, and pioneered in neighborhood council meetings to engage a more diverse group of constituents in decision-making. Excuse me. Tina's 30+ years of leadership in technology, government, and management has saved taxpayers millions of dollars to invest in social services, improve public safety and health for diverse populations, and revolutionize technology. Tina won her first term as state party chair in 2017 after a year-long and sad unsuccessful bid for Washington's Secretary of State, advocating for more access to voting. During that year, she traveled to and worked with all 39 Washington counties and 49 legislative districts and saw firsthand the decline of the grassroots Democratic infrastructure in the state over the last decade. Nationally, Tina is proud to be the Western Association of State Democratic Committee's vice president, representing all of our Western states. She is chair of the DNC Western States Caucus, again, representing all our Western states, and a member of the 2021 DNC Executive Committee. Everybody, please join me in a warm 34th LD welcome for Tina Podlodowski.
Thank you so much, Rachel, and thanks so much to everybody in the 34th Legislative District. You know, both Carla and Rachel asked us to talk about party unity, and you have a special treat in store. We have as a special guest today, my dear friend and the best state party chair in the country, Ken Martin from the Minnesota DFL. And Ken, I'm sure Rachel is going to introduce Ken in just a moment and talk a little bit about his work, but honestly, Ken is the chair of chairs. So when you think about the ASDC, it's the association of all of the state parties in the country. Ken chairs that organization, is our main liaison to the work that we do with the DNC and in so many places, and in Minnesota, has done amazing things to secure Minnesota as a true blue state for Democrats. He is someone who grew up learning from the best in Paul Wellstone about grassroots politics. And I can't speak more highly of Ken, but you know, when I got here to this meeting, I was just coming from another event. Many of you have seen the work that we have been doing with Contest Every Race to make sure that there are Democrats running in each and every one of the almost 5,000 local races we have here in Washington state. The good news is you've heard tonight from some great candidates that didn't come in through Contest Every Race. There are plenty of candidates, particularly in the Puget Sound region, and people are interested in running, not necessarily the case throughout the entire state. Well, Contest Every Race, we've already had over 1,300 people say that they want to run for office as a result of those efforts. We're leading a candidate training for over 300 of them tonight. So that's fairly phenomenal in that response. For school boards, for city councils, for county slots, and all of those things. And to me, that speaks to the Democratic Party and what we're talking about here in terms of party unity and party values. It's really clear to me that the Democratic Party is the only pro-democracy party left in America. We have taken a mandate with a variety and a diverse set of individuals here in America and groups to make sure that every vote has a voice and every voice has equity and equality in this country. That is something that we stand for in terms of our core values. It is amazing to think about the opportunities that exist because we are Democrats and the strength that we bring because of that diversity, because of that experience. You have folks, for example, Dow Constantine, who was on earlier, who has tremendous experience, not just at the county, but at the state legislature, working very hard on a campaign for a then Seattle City Council member back in 1995 named Tina Podladowski. Thank you, Dow, for that. And it's been amazing to see you and that particular piece of work carry through. But here as a Democratic Party, we are that big tent. We are that group that really thinks about and comes at this from a variety of different ideas, a variety of different solutions. Nobody's seat is handed to them in the Democratic Party. Everybody can get a challenger and do that work in terms of a challenger. And you have to prove yourself every single time. We are not like the Republicans who just are looking at this as not even a competition between ideologies or policy positions. It is a competition between the Democrats who are pro-democracy forces and Republicans who are anti-democracy forces. But within our own party, we come at it hard. We look at these solutions hard. We look at these things very differently. But one of the things that we do this with is respect. And that's going to be incredibly important as we look at these races. You've heard about the myriad of mayoral candidates that we've had. We'll definitely looking at a bunch of different folks who are running for the open seat for Seattle City Council, for folks who are running for a variety of other races. We want to make sure that those ideas are exchanged fairly, they're exchanged with a sense of decency, they're exchanged with a sense of respect. And you can go far on those things and go hard. I mean, it's not, look at what's been happening within the Biden presidency and our ability to put the American Rescue Plan in place, our ability to build better and looking to see the American jobs plans coming through. Look to see what's happened because we've elected an incredibly diverse state legislature and what's happening in this particular cycle. And I can't wait for Sine Die on April 25th so we can go through the entire litany of issues related to economic disparity, tax disparity, police accountability, 6 new police accountability bills, environmental bills, so many other things that are happening with that. So we'll talk a little bit about that tonight, but let me have Rachel introduce somebody who is a national treasure and who is doing us as an incredible solid by being here because it is 10 o'clock where he is. Rachel, could you introduce the one and only Ken Martin?
Thank you, Tina. I sure will. Ken Martin is currently chair of the Minnesota Democratic Farmer Labor DFL Party, president of the Association of State Democratic Committees, and a vice chair of the Democratic National Committee. Martin was elected unanimously to a third term as president of the Association of State Democratic Committees by state party chairs and vice chairs on January 21st, 2021. Chairman Martin is currently serving his 5th term as chairman of the Democratic Farmer Labor Party, the Minnesota branch of the Democratic Party. He has held this post since 2011, making him the longest serving chairman in the 75-year history of the DFL. Under Ken's leadership over the past 10 years, the DFL party has seen unprecedented success electorally, financially, and organizationally. Martin has not lost a statewide election during his time as chair, and there has never been a 10-year period in DFL party history that has seen more electoral success up and down the ballot. As ASDC president, Martin created a comprehensive strategy to increase our Democratic Party's support for state party organizations. The vision was to create a true partnership with the DNC and a real 57 state party strategy to build durable, long-lasting infrastructure, ensuring that no state party was left behind and that we seized on all opportunities, big and small. This plan led to robust investment, significant growth, and a greater impact at the ballot box. Martin has played key leadership roles around the country in political parties, candidate campaigns, issue campaigns, and on the independent expenditure side. Before he was elected chairman of the Minnesota DFL, Martin helped run campaigns up and down the ballot from presidential, US Senate, congressional, gubernatorial, state legislative, and local offices. In addition, Ken led a Minnesota-based donor collaborative where he helped develop, fund, and direct independent expenditures in Minnesota. In 2008, Martin led the campaign that successfully passed the Clean Water, Land, and Legacy Amendment to the Minnesota Constitution, which to this day is still the largest conservation finance measure to pass in our nation's history, as well as the highest vote getter for an issue referendum in Minnesota. 34th LD Dems, let's put our hands together to welcome Ken Martin.
Thank you so much, Rachel. I need you to come to Minnesota and introduce me. That was fantastic. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thank you to Carla Rogers and all of you in the 34th LD for inviting me tonight. And of course, to my great friend, Tina Podladowski, who all of you know her and the work she does in Washington on your behalf. But that same energy and excitement and zeal that she takes for building this party, she's not only done in the western region of this country, but all throughout the nation. She's one of my greatest friends in our association, and she just works tirelessly to build this party. So I thank you, Tina, and thank you for inviting me here. You know, I did want to reflect just for a moment because here in Minnesota, of course, our hearts are very heavy tonight as our community is once again crying out for justice. You know, while the unhealed wound of George Floyd's murder keeps playing out on TVs throughout the world, another Black Minnesotan, Dante Wright, was killed by police officers, traumatizing the African-American community and reminding everyone here in my state that the work of racial justice is never ending. Yeah, our community, and I'm sure your communities know this too, that we need police reform and accountability now. Yet here in Minnesota, common sense reforms like a bill that was presented last week in our state legislature, which would have prohibited law enforcement officers from holding membership in far-right extremist hate groups, was defeated on a party line vote. Every Republican voting against and every Democrat for. You know, how can any Republican who watched the murder of George Floyd say it's okay for a police officer to belong to a hate group? You know, we need justice for Dante. We pray for justice for Floyd, but without police reform and accountability, this will unfortunately happen again. As Martin Luther King Jr. said, it is always the right time to do the right thing. And unfortunately, doing the right thing seems to be a foreign concept to some elected officials who put their oath to their party ahead of their oath to the Constitution and to the people that they represent. Now, I want you to think about this for a moment. It might take you back to a dark day, and I apologize, but think about the 1,461 days of the Trump presidency. The scandal, the divisive rhetoric, the embarrassment, and the hate, which all culminated in an armed insurrection at our Capitol, incited by the president in an attempt to overturn a free and fair election. What is as remarkable, or maybe not to me, is that there was really a lack of any legislation that was passed during that time to improve people's lives and strengthen our communities. But I want to reflect on the positive, because here today we mark 84 days since we inaugurated President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. And isn't it amazing what having people in the White House who understand what servant leadership means? Servant leadership. It means you put people first, not politics, not yourselves. These last 84 days had not only been marked by a return of decency, character, and empathetic leadership, but by bold action, which has resulted in one of the most consequential pieces of legislation to be signed into law in the last decade, and maybe longer, the American Rescue Plan. In 84 days, think about this. President Biden and the Democrats cut child poverty in half. They secured over 1 million pensions that were about to collapse. Democrats reduced health insurance premiums for millions of American families. We made the most significant investment in American childcare since World War II, and the largest investment in tribal nations in our US history. And of course, there's more money in people's pockets, and there's more shots in people's arms as Democrats help lead us out of this pandemic. And while we focus on beating this virus, President Biden also believes that this is the moment to reimagine and rebuild our economy. The American Jobs Plan will create millions of good-paying union jobs by rebuilding our country's crumbling infrastructure, like roads and bridges, and making sure that every American has access to broadband and clean water. Democrats know that the fierce urgency of this moment requires action, and we are delivering. Now, I know that there are many important races on the ballot in your district, including your mayor and the King County executive. And from the sounds of it, listening to your candidates tonight, you have great candidates to choose from. But I just wanted to assure you that no matter what happens, you're going to elect great Democrats to office. And but I do want to discuss party unity for a moment. And I want to talk about it through the lens on the eve of our 77th year founding of the Minnesota DFL. Because it was 77 years ago tomorrow here in Minnesota where two political parties surveyed a fractured political landscape and came to the realization that they were stronger together than they were apart. The Farmer Labor Party and the Democratic Party didn't agree on everything, but they recognized that they shared a foundational purpose: to improve the lives of all Minnesotans, no matter where or how they lived. By uniting, 77 years ago, they created a bigger tent. They brought together voices not accustomed to speaking together. Yes, there was friction. Yes, there was dissent. There was plenty of debate, but out of that came new energy. Out of that came a renewed sense of purpose and a moral clarity that would change Minnesota and America for the better. Of course, many of you know the name Hubert Humphrey. He helped lead that merger in 1944. And 4 years later, Hubert Humphrey stood on the floor of the Democratic National Convention in Philadelphia and loudly declared that the time had arrived for the Democratic Party to get out of the shadows of states' rights and to walk forthrightly into the bright sunshine of human rights, changing the party forever and ushering civil rights into our party platform. In the 70s, women and feminists stood up and moved our party into recognizing the rights of women to make their own healthcare decisions and recognizing the needs for an equal rights amendment. And in 2012, I was proud to help lead the Minnesota delegation, which played a pivotal role in having our national party recognize marriage equality in our platform. You see, dissent and debate is a hallmark of who we are as Democrats. It's what has helped our party evolve on so many critical issues. Disagreements about policies and priorities are not our weakness, but our strength. The fundamental idea of the big tent, of coming together not in spite of our differences, but because of them, to forge a path ahead together. That is the heart and soul of the Democratic Party. That strength and understanding gave Democrats the power to lead on civil rights, on women's rights, on workers' rights. It gave us the power to wage a war on poverty, to lead on protecting our planet and its special places. Now, there are clear parallels between our past and present. Today, just like then, we face a fractured political landscape. Today, just like then, we face dissent and disagreements within our party about our future. But we still share that fundamental and foundational purpose to improve the lives of all Americans. And I believe that today, just like then, these disagreements are but the beginning of a new energy that will power us forward. The Democratic Party has rarely been stronger. We have unprecedented energy at every level. The leaders of today, all of you on this Zoom call, embody that same fearlessness, that same strength, and the same commitment to the common good that motivated our founders in the first place. Right now, you see this. I was so impressed seeing all those young candidates on this call earlier, because young people are more engaged than ever before, and they share our values. They are changing the conversation on gun, on climate, on living wages, on human rights, and on the future they want for themselves. The future before us is bright, Democrats. Are there discussions left to be had? Absolutely. Are there differences that still need to be hammered out? Of course. But throughout our history, these are the moments that have always prepared our party to lead. Let me close tonight with a quote from my friend and mentor, Paul Wellstone. But I started 30 years ago with Paul, and some of you may remember him, and it's always sad when people don't. But Paul said once that politics isn't about big money or power games. It's about the improvement of people's lives. It's about advancing the cause of peace and justice in our country and the world. And politics is about doing well for the people. So no matter what your differences, no matter what side of the political ideological spectrum you come from, you're a Democrat. There's no one way to be a Democrat. There's no one stripe to be a Democrat, but everyone on this call, and I assure you, every single one on this call who's a Democrat believes in making a difference in people's lives, improving their lives and strengthening our communities. That's why we're all here tonight. So I want to thank you for having this Minnesotan on your call. I really appreciate the invitation. And with that, I'm going to turn it back to Carla and give you your time back here. So thank you for having me.
Thanks, Ken. Hey, we've got a couple of questions, if you don't mind, and working through those different things. And a lot of folks made their way. We've got from Minnesota to Washington State, and we know that our political climates in many ways are the same and working on different issues. We also have a couple of things that are similar as well. One of those happens to be our senators. We both have two strong female senators with Amy Klobuchar and Tina Smith in Minnesota, and of course, Patty Murray and Maria Cantwell here in Washington State. One of the things that folks were asking about is, looking at women, particularly women of color, and recruiting for those folks. And I know you have some experience for that. We've got the incredible Pramila Jayapal, head of the Progressive Caucus, but also Susan DelBene here in Washington State, the head of the New Democrats Caucus. And then, of course, the first Korean American Democrat and Black Democrat in Marilyn Strickland, who just joined our congressional delegation. You've got some great folks too. Do you want to talk about how you looked and recruited those candidates?
Well, first off, there is a lot of similarity. We also, in addition to having two great U.S. senators, we have a wonderful lieutenant governor who is the highest ranking Native American executive in our country's history, Peggy Flanagan. The reality, and our Speaker of the House and our Senate leader in the state Senate are both women as well. But let me say, Tina, that it requires an intentionality, right? You have to be intentional about going out and making sure that you're finding the best candidates to run, that you're creating a leadership pipeline and opportunities. Many of you know Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, right? Ilhan and I have worked on so many campaigns over the years. She was very active in the Young Democrats and very active in the party before she ever ran for office. And part of my job, I believe, as a party leader, is to create those leadership opportunities through trainings, through making sure that we're recruiting candidates to run for local offices and doing everything we can to support them and set them up for success. Oftentimes when we talk about recruiting candidates or grooming candidates or leadership development, we'll recruit candidates to run and then we just leave it there. We need to be with candidates every step of their journey, including when they're in elected office. And so for us, it starts with intentionality, and then it starts with supporting them through every step of their journey. And I'm proud of the fact we do have very similar states, and I'm proud of the fact that not only do we have Ilhan Omar, the first refugee and a Somali American to serve in the U.S. Congress. We also have Keith Ellison, my good friend, who is the first African American and the first Muslim to be Attorney General in our state. We have a very diverse set of elected officials, but it doesn't happen by accident. It happens through people in key positions, making sure that they're being intentional about recruiting the next generation of leaders.
And I think that that's so important. And that's why running in these races, getting folks to run for these offices makes a difference. I mean, you look at, we've elected in this last cycle, the first two women, Muslim women in Washington state, in Zara Roach and Barisha Khan. We have now the most diverse state legislature in Washington state history. And every time there's a legislative cycle, I hope to be saying that because we're not done yet, just because we've gotten to where we are. And the reality is none of that diversity is coming from the Republican Party. It is not. They have one person of color in their entire combined House and Senate caucus. And we've got diverse Democrats, but certainly we want more. But more than that, we want people with those lived life experiences. That's one of the things that, for me, Ken, has really struck me about the work that you've done in Minnesota, is that the folks that are part of the party, the folks that are candidates, are people whose lived experience means something and matter and really do represent the lived experiences of people in Minnesota and working through that. Do you want to talk a little bit about why that's important and why that's particularly important on the campaign trail and that exchange of ideas?
Well, I would just say turn on the news right now and you'll see on CNN what's happening in Brooklyn Center right now. Right. Why is it important to have people who have those lived experiences? Because I don't know about you, Tina, but I'm sick and tired of people being sympathetic.
Right.
I want people to be empathetic. I want people who've lived those experiences. So they're bringing those voices and those experiences to the Capitol. It's one thing and you and I both have our own white privilege here, and we acknowledge that. So why is it important to have people who don't have the same experiences as us in office? Because we want those experiences reflected in policy, whether it's at the very local level, at the state level, or in Congress. It's so important. It's not just about what a person looks like. It's exactly what you said. It's about their lived experiences and the stories they bring with them, right? One of my favorite quotes is what Ayanna Pressley said when she said, "Those closest to pain should be closest to power." I believe that. That's how we're going to change policy in this country. That's how we're going to enact progressive legislation, is when we get people in there who are empathetic and not just sympathetic.
I think that that's so important. And it's also looking at the mix of these things as well, because we all know too that we're trying to make these wheels of government turn faster, turn better after almost 60 years of Republicans doing their damnedest really to fossilize our government, to make sure that individuals have no confidence in our government. What we're seeing coming now out of the Biden administration is historic. I heard folks talking about it as, FDR and the New Deal, but other folks talking about it as Harry Truman and the Fair Deal, because one of the things that Joe Biden is doing is making sure that people of color, folks from the LGBTQ community, folks from the disability community, on and on and on, are not left behind. In the way that even within our founding documents, right? So many people were left behind in this country, but Democrats are about making sure that nobody is left behind. Everyone has that equity and that opportunity. I will close with one last question for you and let you get on with your evening. And thank you so much for being here and doing this. But talking about rural areas, particularly rural areas in Minnesota. I know that here in Washington state over the last 4 years, we've upped the vote for Democrats in rural counties anywhere from 4 to 16%. That's a big leap. We haven't necessarily won in those areas yet, but we're making our way through. Can you talk about how you've approached that in Minnesota? Because you've done some great work in those areas.
Well, first, let me say the phenomenon you saw in Washington was played out in a lot of states. And what it suggests to me, Tina, is that there's an elasticity in the electorate. So oftentimes people will look at a red dot on the map and say, well, we can't compete there. But we saw, particularly in this last election, that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris clawed back a lot of that ground in rural parts of the country. So first off, we have to start from the standpoint that there's really no place in this country that we can't win with the right candidate and the right message. But I want to say one of the challenges oftentimes, and I'm going to use this story because my father-in-law is a farmer in southern Minnesota, 800 acres of corn and beans and beef cattle, right? And he voted for Trump. And I've been trying to unpack why in the heck this guy would vote for Trump. And it comes down to this, and I'll set this story up with a conversation I had with a former governor named Wendy Anderson in Minnesota. He was on the guy on the cover of Time back in the 70s, famously holding that big Northern Pike, and it said The Good Life here in Minnesota. But the reason I want to reflect on this story, in 2012, I was a founding board member for Minnesotans United for All Families, which was the campaign that defeated the amendment trying to define marriage as being between a man and a woman. We were, by the way, the first state to actually beat back a constitutional amendment. During that campaign, I asked the governor, how do you think gay marriage is going to play in greater Minnesota, which is what we call the rural parts of our state? And he said, Ken, let me tell you something. People in greater Minnesota are salt of the earth folks. They don't mind if you fight for the poor, if you fight for immigrants, if you fight for even gay marriage. But if they feel like you have forgotten about them, they're going to leave you. Now, I want to flash forward to my father-in-law who voted for Trump. And when I unpack everything, here's a man who's 88 years old on the tail end of his life. He should be living carefree and not have a knot of anxiety or any worry about the future. Yet his family, who's farmed his farm for 134 years, none of his kids, my wife included, want to come back and farm, right? His high school, which my wife also went to, has closed down, and they've had to consolidate high schools in their community. They don't have a clinic anywhere within 100 miles, and my mother-in-law has Parkinson's disease. So, he's worried about health care. The church, our Catholic church that we belong to, they now have to drive across the country to go to different masses because they've basically rotating masses now. The point is this guy's feeling like he's losing his identity and no one gives a crap about his life. So the point is we've got to be their champion. We can't just stand up and when it comes around to voting time, approach people in rural communities. We actually have to fight for them as much as we're fighting for any other community. And I share this story about Paul Wellstone because people think of Paul Wellstone as this great progressive champion, and he was. But people in rural Minnesota loved Paul Wellstone because he fought just as much for the farmer as he did for someone in the inner cities. Why? Because he understood what united them. As Paul used to say, we all do better when we all do better. And all means all. Wherever you live, wherever you're from, whoever you love, we're going to fight for you. And I know that's oversimplifying a real challenge because there are issues that are unique to rural parts of our state. But if we don't fight for folks in those parts of the state, they're never going to vote for us. So let's stand up and be bold and fight for them, just like we're fighting for folks in the inner cities. Because if we become the party of just density and diplomas, we are not going to win in the long run. And if we want to make a difference in people's lives, we have to build power, which means we have a responsibility. I know, Tina, you know this because you do this work. We have a responsibility to fight everywhere and not write any part of our state or any community off. So, and look, I don't have all the answers. You know that. I say that all the time. But I will tell you, if we all put our heads together, we can crack this nut and we can figure it out, because I don't think those people are lost forever. And we've seen that in recent elections.
It's so true. Thank you so much, Ken. Really appreciate you being here this evening and taking the time with us. You know, Washington Democrats, it's why we we do the work to rise and organize. It's why we run in every race and in every place. And it's also why we have a very unique opportunity in 2020. And I'm bringing this up because of Ken's talking about Paul Wellstone, which is there is one statewide elected official universally who the rural communities believe in, and that's Senator Patty Murray. Patty Murray is up in 2022. She will be top of ticket for our coordinated campaign. We are trying to build that now. The Republicans just announced a competitor to Patty Murray, an opponent to Patty Murray today, a woman in Pasco. We'll find out more about her, but she proudly on her campaign website is a picture of her and Donald Trump, so you know where she's coming from. This is not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy for any of us in any of these races, but if there's anything that we can do to make this happen, it is all of us here united in our voices towards the end goal. It is absolutely fine to have the family fights around the table and to do that work, but united around the end goal is where we need to be. Nobody has done that better than Ken Martin in Minnesota, and in just elevating the voices of state parties around the country and in his work. I really want to thank Ken for taking time out of his insanely busy schedule to be with us here tonight. I want to thank Rachel, and I want to thank Carla, and I want to thank everyone in the 34th district for the amazing work that you do, for the fact that you do partner with other districts as well. We're going to need you to do that. We're going to need you to make sure that you're working on those municipal elections. But we're so proud of each and every one of you, and thank you for letting us spend some time with you tonight.
Amazing. Thank you, Chair Martin. Thank you, Chair Podlodowski. I'm ready to go knock on some doors or something. I gotta like get some of this energy out. You totally pumped us up. So thank you.
Let's get vaccinated. Let's get vaccinated. Let's get those masks on. I'm hoping by July 4th we can get to some doors. I got to do some doors too. Yeah.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your time tonight. We'll take your message to heart. We need to, and thank you for the cheerleading, because I personally needed some of that as well. I think we all do at this point. So thank you again. Appreciate it. All right. I'm going to go back and share really quick. Oh, that's a great picture. I love it. All right. Lots of great comments out there as well. Thank you so much. What a great rally cry there. Okay. And again, thanks to both State Party Chair Podlodowski and lots of titles, Chair Martin. Thank you so much. All right. So, oh goodness. Let me get, here we are. Okay, well, I am going to run around the block while First Vice Chair Rachel Glass is on and sharing our first mini fundraiser that will actually run all year and hopefully help us meet some of our financial goals. Rachel, you want to unmute?
Sorry, I've got split pages here, so I'm working two different sides of the computer. Okay, everyone in the 34th and everyone who is joining to be at our meeting, I want to talk about this fundraising campaign that's called Change Makes Sense. And it's based on a fundraising campaign that I created in 2008 when I was a delegate for President Obama, at the time pre-President Obama. And it was a very successful campaign. And so I've never forgotten it. And I've always sort of looked for opportunities where I think that it might fit. And I think I have found it here in this year's campaign for fundraising. The basic tenet of this fundraiser, Change Makes Sense, is that the majority of the funds that we will get will come from your loose change. That is change sitting in your kitchen, change sitting in a jar that you haven't touched for years, change in your couch. The opportunities are endless of where you can find spare change. The benefit of this kind of fundraiser is multifold, and that is that anyone can donate. No donation is too small, and donations of your small change is painless. You don't notice it. The reason to have a donation platform like this is because several reasons. Many folks have been affected, unemployed, and otherwise affected negatively by COVID. And so they don't have a lot of the expendable funds that they used to have. It's hard to make a lot of donations for folks who don't have disposable funds. And so we want to give this opportunity to anybody to participate in this. It allows donations to be made regardless of your financial situation. It's very important that everyone can feel like they're involved and participating. And I think that Ken just spoke beautifully about how we can feel empowered to feel involved in organizations that we are associated with. And it's very empowering when folks can donate. Anybody can donate, and this is a great inclusive way to do that. The structure of this fundraiser aligns with the mission that the 34th is highlighting, with our commitment to being welcoming and inclusive to all folks. So I'm really excited that we were able to roll this out. It's going to be in progress and active till at least the end of this year, and possibly till the end of next year, which would be the end of this term for this board. If you have any questions, any question at all, please contact me anytime. If Carla would like to put my link in the chat, that would be great. But please feel free to contact me. The 34th leadership depends on the funds we raise from you, the members, and from you, our friends who have joined us tonight and on any night. We also realize that no donations should come with a financial burden to anyone. So thank you very much for anything you can donate to Change Makes Sense. It's going to help our ability to bring you great programs, and also the ability to do other really strong and important work that we are doing in this organization right now. So thanks again, everybody. Change Makes Sense. Go to the chat and find the link to it.
All right, Rachel, thank you. It's so awesome to have an actress on your board. Can't even tell you. I love it. Thank you, Rachel, for your skills. All right, in February, you confirmed the appointment of the majority of our executive board. With new standing rules, there are 2 additional committee chairs that we added. These members will also sit on the executive board and serve on our leadership team. I do have a couple additional board members that we need to get approved this evening, so they are official. First, the Community Engagement Committee Chair initiates, cultivates, and nurtures relationships with partner organizations and provides bridges between our executive board committees when collaboration is needed. I ask that you confirm the appointment. There we go, sorry. I ask that you confirm the appointment of Dawn Rains to this position. Dawn is actually on PTO, on vacation, and isn't able to be with us tonight, but we'll be thinking of her in our thoughts. The other new committee is our Endorsements and Resolutions Committee. I ask that you confirm the appointment of Richard O'Neill and Bunny Hatcher as co-chairs of this committee. And then finally, I announced in February that Trey Likens had raised his hand to chair our membership committee. And of course, he gave us a report earlier tonight. All these folks have been contributing like mad since January, so I'm hopeful that we can get a motion to confirm the appointment of these 4 executive board members.
Sarah,
Could I get
the audition of these people for the positions noted?
Okay, that's Ann Martin. And a second?
Second.
A second.
I think that was Karen Richter.
It was.
A second, thank you.
And Carla,
All right.
sorry to interrupt. It's Rachel, just to let you know, Dawn Rains is here. She's on the meeting.
Oh, I thought she was taking off for vacation. Maybe that's after tonight. Okay, thanks, Dawn. Sorry about that. Didn't see you join. Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second. And all those in favor of approving the 4 executive board members, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Awesome.
Aye.
Anyone
Aye.
opposed, please say nay. All right. You guys have it. Fantastic. Thank you so much. That was carryover from last month when we ran out of time. So thanks for letting me slip that in. Next. All right. Our endorsement rules. Hopefully everyone noted that the endorsement rules were posted in our weekly emails the past couple of weeks, actually. I believe Steve also may have included these in the April newsletter. When I took office, I reviewed the rules and bylaws and noticed that our endorsement rules were dated 2009. So I requested that our new resolutions and endorsements committee review the rules and propose any changes. So one item that the committee was very interested in talking through and potentially changing was the prerequisite of party affiliation. While we wanted to tackle this, the state party is also currently working through this requirement. So we've tabled that part, awaiting their action. We will take this under consideration before the next election cycle. Having said that, I'm going to hand it off to Jordan Crowley, our second vice chair and chair of our Platform and Legislative Action Committee, to share with you a summary of the changes in the rules document. Jordan?
Thanks, Carla. So generally across the board, we removed the possibility for voting by raising hands or by voice vote to ensure that regardless of the setting, only those attendees who are eligible to vote in an endorsement meeting are actually casting those votes. We also went through and fixed issues with grammar, punctuation, and linguistic clarity. And then we added links to external sources or organizations whenever they're cited. For more specific changes in section 1, we aligned the meeting notice requirement with our bylaws at 9 days. In section 2, for eligible nominees, we established the questionnaire as a consistently applied requirement rather than a rarely applied suggestion. We established a process for drafting a questionnaire should the organization ever choose to prepare its own rather than using that of the King County Party. For section 3, which is eligible speakers and voting, we added language around virtual meetings regarding the membership renewal deadline, registration information requirements, and voter verification and vote certification. For section 4, which is on recommendations by the board, we put into writing a common but not universal practice of removing candidates from a block should a member disagree with the candidate's inclusion in a block. For section 8, which is reconsideration of endorsement, we clarified the circumstances under which the organization might reconsider the candidate we chose to endorse in any given race. For section 9, which is publication and support, we clarified how the organization plans to support and publicize that support for candidates that we choose to endorse. And finally, in section 10, we added this section on review and amendment to establish a periodic review process to avoid the circumstance in which we currently find ourselves of reviewing and amending an 11-year-old document. And that's it.
Awesome. All right, great. Thank you, Jordan. Is there a motion regarding these rules?
Motion to adopt the rules. This is Janine.
I second. This was Bunny.
All right, that was Janine. And Bunny, was that you?
Yes, it was.
All right, thank you. You're real hard to hear, Bunny, just so you know for the next section.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is this better?
Yeah, it's like you're really far away from your mic. Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve the updated endorsement rules. Janine, do you want to speak to the motion? Or would you like to yield to anyone else to speak to the motion? Richard or Jordan, anyone else?
Yes, I yield to Richard or Jordan to speak to the motion.
Thank you. All right, I'm looking for Richard. He was planned to be here, but I'm not seeing him. Okay, Jordan, could you just speak to the motion briefly, please?
Sure. Yeah, so I think that the fact that we were missing some tools that would have been very helpful moving forward in a virtual system was reason enough to go through and amend these. However, we've seen in the last several endorsement meetings that there are other areas that were needing improvement. So taking this opportunity, we were able to go through and make those necessary changes. And I think that we should move forward with these as written.
Great, thank you. Would anyone like to speak against the motion? Anyone like to speak against? All right, great. Well, since there is no other discussion, we can call the question. If you can all unmute yourself, all those in favor of the motion to adopt these new or these updated endorsement rules, please say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Awesome. Anyone opposed, please say nay. All right, the motion passes. We have updated endorsement rules. Thank you to the committee. It was lots of back and forth and lots of editing, especially on Jordan. So thank you for that. And we now have rules. I'll be sending these out to all of the candidates. Along with our schedule for our forums and our endorsement meeting, I'll be sending that out this weekend just so that everybody has the same information. And we will start this fun process. All right, next up, our resolution. The resolution was brought to us by State Representative Janine Anzalota. The resolution is calling for the King County Gender Identity and Sexual Orientation Task Force, that's a mouthful, of the executive branch to adopt a gender transition policy for employees. Sarah has placed a link to this in the chat if you'd like to take a look at it close up. But for now, Bunny, I'd love to invite you to come to the mic and give us a summary.
Good. And can you hear me better now?
Can you hear me okay?
Better now.
Okay. Tonight we're considering Janine's resolution, and it has passed our committee, the Resolutions and Endorsement Resolutions Committee, and the Executive Board with a recommendation for a yes vote by our membership. It cites our 34th democratic value of gender equity and social justice, and it points out that transgender, gender variant, and gender non-conforming people frequently experience discrimination, which negatively affects their psychological, physical, social, and economic well-being, as well as disproportionate rates of things like homelessness. It notes that those who identify as both BIPOC and transgender or disabled experience higher rates of discrimination than transgender people who are white and able-bodied, and notes that also that there is a code that prohibits discrimination against employees based on all of those factors. The resolution points out that King County can create a more inclusive workplace by adopting a gender transition policy for its employees, which covers records management, gender neutral restrooms, and expectations from employees and identification of the persons charged with implementing these policies. The resolution states that this not only protects vulnerable employees, but has the benefit of helping King County recruit and retain a diverse and talented workforce. So it requests that we resolve that we support King County's efforts for the creation of a gender identity and inclusion strategy and an employee gender transition policy by September 1st of this year, and calls for King County to adopt this gender transition policy. Finally, it calls for us, that we resolve in the 34th to send this resolution forward to King County Executive and the King County Council to take action on this resolution. And to speak for the resolution, I would like to hand off to its author, Janine.
First, actually, we need to have a motion. So Janine, would you like to make a motion and then you can speak to it?
Right.
Sure, I make a motion to accept this resolution.
And I'll second it.
Second.
Second it, Chris.
Would you like me to speak to it now, Carla?
Yes, please.
I will be brief. As the author of this resolution, I wanted to share where this came from. So I am a King County employee. In my former position as Equity and Civil Rights Manager, this came to me, the request came to me from employees who identify as transgender. I'm a member of our LGBTQ plus affinity group, and as a queer person and a trans ally, that's how this came to me. Employees we currently do not have a policy to support transgender, gender nonconforming, and gender diverse employees at King County. So this is something that I would like to support. And again, this came from employees with lived experience. I do ask that you do not raise any issues today of punctuation or technical issues. And if you do find any of those issues in the resolution, that you please save those comments till after the meeting and email them to us so we can make the appropriate revisions. The resolution has already been vetted and approved by the executive committee and has already gone through revisions based on executive committee feedback. And I will yield my time, Carla. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone who would like to speak against this resolution? Against the motion, excuse me. Okay, anyone wanting to speak against? All right, well, hearing no one, I would like to have everyone come off mute and we'll take a voice vote. Members, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That was a resounding yes. All right, anyone opposed, please say nay. Awesome, very nice. The motion passes. Janine, we will be excited to start distributing this resolution, and I'd love to take it to some other LDs as well. Thank you so much for bringing it to us.
Thank you, Janine.
The resolution will be on our website. It's actually on our website now. It will be no longer proposed. It will be official within 24 hours, and we will get it shared out to the appropriate parties. Thanks so much, Bunny and Janine, for putting that together. All right, we're at the end of the agenda, and look, it's 8:48. I'm so excited. Good of the order. Does anyone have good of the order? And I am not able to see any hands raised. Let me see.
And Carla, I want to give you an Anna girl for getting the meeting on time.
Woo!
This was a packed agenda and you pulled it off.
Thank you.
Don't jinx it. Don't jinx it.
Yeah, really. Chris Porter, you may speak, sir.
Yes, I do. Can you hear me?
Yes, go right ahead.
Okay. I just wanted to follow up on the resolution that we just passed. Its significance is with the incremental changes that we've seen, like for marriage equality and even in healthcare, we have to acknowledge and be clear that gender nonconforming and transgender have always been left out or have come along behind us. And this is really our opportunity to make sure that they catch up and march with us. So as we look at the implications of this, it's really, as I see it, an attempt to make sure everyone is in lockstep and that they march with us and not behind us, as so often is the case regarding our gender nonconforming and transgender friends. And certainly as an ally, I want them to march with us and stop marching behind us.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate those heartfelt words. All right, anyone else for good of the order? I see Ann Martin.
Yes, I had my hand up and I was trying to find the right description, but the West Seattle Democratic Women will have a meeting Thursday of next week. And that meeting will be about the Public Defenders Association, which is working for alternatives to incarceration. Our focus this year is on justice issues. So it's a 11 o'clock discussion group and 11:30 program. So I will send the information to Steve, whoever needs to put it on the website, but if you wanted to join us, it's by Zoom, so please consider coming and listening to the discussion.
And it is actually already on our calendar. If you just go to the homepage and you click the calendar, you will see it listed there along with a Zoom link.
Good. Please let us know you're coming so that I'll actually let you in.
I know that feeling. Thank you, Anne.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone else? Anyone else? All right. So as I mentioned at the top of the time, we took our early kind of casual time to chat. This might seem completely bizarre and a terrible idea, but I'm totally willing to keep the Zoom open. If anyone would like to hang out and talk about anything that we heard tonight, talk about current events, talk about any of the any good stuff or bad stuff. If you want to stay on, I'm going to keep the chat open. I'll be here as well, and come have a chat with me. Other than that, I would like to, let's see, if there's no further business and there's no objection, the meeting will be adjourned. Any objection? Hearing none, we are officially adjourned at